Hey, Salvador Briggman here, and today I want to talk about getting really good assets when it comes to your Kickstarter. So in terms of the photos and the video, right? How do you get really high quality content and information that does something specific that gets people excited, whets their appetite to become a backer of your campaign, and eventually will transition them into a customer, a backer, a buyer? How do you do that? Covering out all of that today. All right, so let's get started. Let's start with photography, right? So when it comes to photography, usually people and entrepreneurs who have made the product are not necessarily the people who also are good at photography. Not always the case. I've worked with clients before, I've coached students who are super good when it comes to getting media assets. They have a YouTube channel or they have a really nice looking Instagram, way better than mine. By the way, go and check out my Instagram, just type in my name, Salvador Briggman, and you'll come up with my Instagram account, my business Instagram. But that being said, there are a lot of people out there who have a way better Instagram than I do because that is not my forte. I like taking photos and artsy photos sometimes. Sometimes I like taking cool photos when it comes to like modeling and posing and stuff, but I'm not really the guy when it comes to figuring out, the best photos with my own camera. However, I've studied it extensively from a marketing perspective, and I can really easily coach a photographer when it comes to taking those style of photos. I just don't really have the patience for it. When it comes to getting effective photos for your actual product, there are a few different things that we'll want to cover. First of all, different environments. You don't want to have all of your photos in the exact same environment because it gets stale, it gets old. People want to see the different environments where they can use your product. So if you created something, let's just say like a bag, a travel bag of some kind that you can take with you, where would you take this thing? Would you be having it in your co-working space? You'd be having it next to you on a motorcycle? Would you be having it when you're riding a scooter? Would you be having it when you're at home, right? Would you be having it in a cafe? Think about and brainstorm all of the different places and all the different types of shots that you can place this particular product. And that's going to be the very first step when it comes to delegating this task to a photographer. Because thinking about where do we want to get these shots and why? Because this is when someone's going to look at this, they're going to be like, oh, I go to the cafe. Oh yeah, I'm always riding in planes. I like these things. And the subconscious realization is I can use this product in these different environments. They can see themselves in the character, in the model who's actually, the one that's using it, right? The other is not just to have the static photo of the bag, right? Instead, have people using it or interacting with it in some way and have that be built into a larger lifestyle. So what does that mean? That's kind of abstract, right? Let's bring it down to more concrete terms. Having someone who has the backpack on their back when they're riding a scooter, and behind them is their girlfriend who is also riding the scooter. What does that say? That says that the lifestyle of two people having a really good time together, beautiful weather, maybe it's a Sunday, and the backpack is on their back. It's kind of like a nice add-on. But really the lifestyle is you having a good time with your significant other. And for someone who has a significant other, they can project themselves into that image. Or someone who doesn't, they can project themselves saying, I want that kind of a life. I want to be closer to this brand. When we look at individual photos of really well-known brands or luxurious brands, they tend to be placed in really specific cases and instances. So if it's a luxury watch brand, maybe that person is also in a luxury car, or maybe they're on a boat, they're on a yacht, or they're surrounded by other people, right? That are from like a high class or high social kind of situation. The reason why marketers do that is they want you to look at that lifestyle with envy. They want you to be a part of it. Or if you're already a part of that lifestyle, to be like, oh, this watch fits into my lifestyle, right? So when you take photos in different environments, also take them with other people and other people using that particular product. The next part, and this is probably like the easiest one, honestly, and it might sound kind of dumb, but when I was getting started, I didn't really think about it, right? The next thing is to take photos with different angles that are not natural for the human eye. Now you might want to write this one down. Photos so a human eye is eye level, right? Is me looking down, let's just say, at a bag that's on the floor. That's an eye level, normal photo where anyone who's a human being is gonna recognize that as being like a normal thing you'd see in your everyday life. And that's okay, but it's not really gonna capture their attention. And the reason is that we're so used to seeing that kind of a vision in our own life. But if you take a photo, let's just say you have your camera, right? Your iPhone, and you have, let's just say like your Beats headphones or something, and it's almost from the side, or it's looking up, or it's like an angle that you wouldn't really get with the normal human eye, or it's kind of like you have your Beat headphones and behind it is like a mountain or something like that. It's hard for you as an individual to get all the way down and like look up and see that kind of an image. So because you're not used to the human eye seeing that angle before, when you see a photo that looks like that, you're gonna be like, oh wow, this is a really aesthetic photo. This looks really cool. Or if it's photography, you'd be like, that's a cinematic look to that film. And I don't know why I feel this way, but it feels cool. It's grabbing my attention. It looks high quality. The reason why it grabs your attention and the reason why it looks high quality is that your mind is not used to seeing that angle or that vantage point. So when you're talking with your photographer, tell them, make sure that they get some photos that are not just like plain, ordinary kind of angles, but kind of interesting. Another good example is there's a plant here that's behind this camera. If I took a photo where it's kind of like peeking around the plant or through the plant, and then you see the bag here, or something like this, like on this little desk here, this glass desk, that could also be a really interesting photo because you as a human are not gonna climb back there and look at that, right? So because it's interesting, it grabs your attention and grabs your eye, and it makes you want to learn a little bit more about that product. This YouTube video is sponsored by The Gadget Flow. The Gadget Flow reaches over 28 million people, and they've been around since 2012. They're Indiegogo and Kickstarter experts. They featured over 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns. If you have a tech or design campaign, it is a great platform to generate awareness and get backers. Check them out at thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today. The next one is to mistake the process of editing with photography. Now, I also have made this mistake a lot when it comes to my life. You look at photos that are on Instagram or you look at photos that are in magazines and you assume that the person had a really high quality camera because look at how amazing that photo is. And obviously if they're a professional, they do have a high quality camera. But actually what makes a photo really nice looking has nothing to do with the camera and has everything to do with the editing. So rather than just accepting the photos that maybe your photographer has sent you, that maybe they haven't edited at all, they haven't color graded the footage at all, or they haven't done anything in the way of putting on a filter of some kind, you can then have another person look at those photos and be like, what can you do with this? How can you bring out the colors? How can you make it look more interesting or high quality? Is there anything you can do when it comes to color grading or changing out things or anything like that, or even making, cutting out portions of the photo? What should we really narrow in on, right? Those are all questions you can ask an editor. And it's actually gonna really upgrade the quality of the photos on your campaign, because once an editor applies their magic, it's kind of similar to you, I guess, as a female going out and going to dinner, right? A female who's going out and going to dinner usually is wearing makeup. They're not really the same way that they would look if they didn't wear makeup. Makeup almost accentuates certain features. So it might accentuate their eyes or might accentuate their skin. Same thing goes with filters. A lot of people use filters, right? Because why? It accentuates certain parts of their face or certain areas of their body. And particularly like a magazine, for a fitness magazine, a lot of it's airbrushed. A lot of it's contours that are actually physically made in the editing room, but it's not based on real life. So the final thing I want to say about photography before I get a little bit into video editing and that kind of stuff is to make sure that you decouple taking photos with editing and you have someone who's really thinking about the editing behind these product photos that you are grabbing. Okay, so let's talk about the video footage that you want to get for your particular Kickstarter campaign and this product that you are bringing together. Now, there's a lot of crossover between photography and videography. The same thing if you're watching a YouTube video and you see a really interesting angle, like a guy is skateboarding and like the angle is right behind the wheels, you're like, wow, that's a really cool angle. It captures your attention. It piques your curiosity. What's gonna happen next? What am I gonna see next, right? So having interesting angles, same thing obviously with videography and filmmaking, same thing when it comes to editing and color grading. Rarely is just the product that you see when it comes to a video footage, something they're trying to sell something, that's not really just what the camera captured. It goes through an editing process. It goes through color grading, it goes through bringing out different tones within that image, etc., or maybe visual effects on the screen, cuts when it comes to cutting someone's talking, right, in order to create more of a fast approach or something like that. So there's a lot that goes into filmmaking as well. One of the things that I will say is with a particular Kickstarter pitch video, and I have a whole video out there on this on my channel, it is so freaking important to emphasize the benefits. Now, let's just say that we're creating a new skateboard, right? What are the benefits of the new skateboard? Well, maybe it's really fast, it's smooth, it's a certain design or a shape that's really easy for you to stand on. You're not gonna fall over as easily. If you go over bumps, let's just say for whatever reason, it's not as hard to go over bumps. You're not gonna fall down. It's easy to do tricks on. What are some ways, and you wanna brainstorm this, what are some ways that I could demonstrate those benefits by using filmmaking, by using shots in a particular scene. So for example, the benefit of being able to go over bumps and that kind of stuff and it being a smooth ride. Well, we could show video footage of the skateboard driving down the road and maybe hitting some pebbles or hitting some things, some rocks or something like that. And rather than going, right, it just very easily, smoothly goes over that kind of stuff and those kinds of little bits of debris that might be in your path when you're skateboarding to work or something like that. Another example, it's very easy for someone, whether they're small or they have big feet or whatever size shoe it is, and even if they're young or they're old, various experience levels, so you could have someone who's a child on the thing showing that, or a girl who's not really experienced with skateboarding, or a guy who's just picking it up, or who's a bit larger in stature. You can have different sizes and ways in which to show that particular benefit, and you show it on screen. So these are just some really simple ways. So for your particular product, think about what are some of the ways that you can demonstrate the benefits, the functionality, and the overall promise of this particular product. In addition to filmmaking and video, one of the things that I get really commonly asked of me with my coaching calls is, Sal, I have this product, I want to create a story around it for the video, but I don't really know how, and I don't want it to fall flat. Thinking about adding maybe a little bit of humor to it, but I don't really know what to do beyond that, right? So if you're that kind of person that wants to have a story-based video, and not every video is story-based, sometimes it's just going hammering on the benefits and the features, and that's kind of it. It can be really, really basic. So let's just say with this skateboard that this person is skateboarding and they're going to work in order to get to a job, right? In order to maybe get to an interview or to get to something like that. This person has a goal. They're trying to have a better life. And this product just fits into just one little thing that fits into this larger vision of their life, which is to be successful, to have fun at work, but also just to have fun with life. You know, it's not so weird to be skateboarding to work maybe it was in the 50s or something like that. So you can have the story start with getting that text maybe, or with getting that phone call and then be like, yeah, man, I'll be in for the interview. Well, I guess you wouldn't say yeah, man, but I'm like that. I guess I'm going to be at the interview in these number of minutes, right? So it starts there and then the story progresses. And as the story progresses, you then showcase the various benefits of the product and how it deals with maybe some of these obstacles, how it's easy to use, this kind of stuff. They get the job and maybe afterwards something happens that kind of puts a cherry on top with the story. Or they're just then laying in like a field next to a river, or let's just say they're in an urban area, then they're on a park bench and the skateboarder is just lying beside them and they're smiling and they're happy and they're telling their significant other how they got the job, and the skateboarder is just kind of there as like another component. Story-based videos don't have to be complicated. Going for a job interview is not a complicated thing. The main thing is that something has to happen. There has to be a goal or an objective of some kind in that scene that plays out. There has to be conflict, ideally. Something that happens that prevents that person from achieving that goal. And your product, the benefits, illustrate how that person gets over these various stumbling blocks or these things in the road, these obstacles. And if you can do that, you're gonna have a successful story-based video. So this is a lot of information to take in, right? It's a lot to think about when it comes to this, but it's so incredibly important because it's really the marketing assets are what me or an agency or someone else can use to help you with your Kickstarter campaign. And they're so valuable going forward as well for your business, because when you start to sell this on Shopify or Amazon or another e-commerce store, then you have everything already. You don't have to go back and hire another photographer or videographer. You can draw from these marketing assets in the future for Instagram videos, for Facebook ads, for your homepage, right? Really good looking high resolution photos, for media kits that you send out when a journalist asks to cover you in a story, right? It's so important And getting these media assets is really the first step to being able to work with other people in the future, and they can help you assemble your campaign. So you have any questions at all? First of all, I have a lot of great stuff in my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. This book, I've written comprehensive knowledge from literally 8 years in the crowdfunding industry. I have a book on Audible for the Kickstarter Launch Formula. I also have a paperback version. You should check it out down below. I also got a free newsletter that I send out once a week that includes some of my killer crowdfunding tips that I'll link to down below. Also got some other great free courses and stuff like that. But in addition, if you want to book a one-on-one coaching call with me, with Sal, and I can go over maybe what you're thinking for taking photos or videography, you haven't really gotten to that stage yet, and you're kind of wondering, or you do, and now you're like, what do I do with this, right? You can book a one-on-one coaching call with me at crowdcrux.com/coaching. Go and check out the link down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Sal, and I will see you next time.